right, welcome to Real Talk. I am your host, Paul Britton. I am so happy to have you guys here today. I am so happy to be talking about one of the two movies I'll be reviewing tonight, and the one I'm excited about is Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's the prequel to the mega smash hit trilogy. I'm calling it a trilogy. There were 4 movies. The third movie was broken out into 2 movies, but really it's just a big mega movie. So I'm calling it a trilogy. You can hate me all you want. That's fine. You can even at me. In fact, I would love for you to at me about calling it a trilogy. I would love you to at me about anything, really. Okay, so first let's do the background on the Hunger Games, because I've never had that conversation on this show before, so it's worth, 2 seconds of our time, I think. I freaking love the original movies, man. Like, seriously, I just love the movies. I thought they were all just really well made. Uh, just such attention to details that made for all the characters to be interesting, and a really fascinating world, and I'm going to highlight that point. The world that was crafted from these books, and yes, I have read the original trilogy. I did not read the prequel uh that came out after the original movies were made. I kind of feel bad. I always preferred the books, and that's or not the books. I'm sorry. I always preferred the movies over the books. And there's a reason. The books are written in first person narrative, and which is fine, except that you you're limited in things that you can see, things that you can learn. Everything is filtered through Katniss's eyes, which is fine again, but she doesn't get to see everything, and there are things going on in the capital city and behind the scenes that are important and interesting, but more important than important, extremely interesting. Like, I feel like there are things that you are exposed to in the movies that you can't be exposed to in the books, because Katniss wouldn't understand these things. And so I just always felt that the movies were a little richer than the books. And I enjoyed them more. This is an instance I did not read the books in advance for this one. I might do a retro read on it. I might not. Um, but so the one carryover from the Hunger Games, the original trilogy. Yes, I'm calling it a trilogy. Was that I loved the world. I felt like, you know that it's an IP that just is begging for people to say, all right, well, I'm going to go and tell this story. And I'm going to go tell this story. And there's so many different stories that are available to be told. And so the first one of those from the original author came a book called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And I don't know anything about the book, so I'm not going to try to say like, oh, this is a really solid retelling of it. No, I'm just here. I'm just looking at. I'm doing it from the guise of the movie, and what the movie gets right is absolutely exactly what the original trilogy got right, which is the world building that is done here is just absolutely amazing. I feel like somebody who saw, like a skyscraper being built, or just any tall building being built. It doesn't have to be a skyscraper, but something a little more hefty than a house, where you actually kind of see you really get to see the immense structural work on the inside that takes up that helps support what eventually you will see on the outside. But so somebody who sees, just the framework being put up, and then comes back like 6 months later, and there's just a lot of exterior work done. We always had, there's so much framework in this world. And this movie starts laying on the layers of the exterior, and it's really cool. It's really cool to see that happen. Um, what this movie doesn't get right, and this is just a choice in look, one of the there's a story element here that I just so this is following the rise of Cornelius Snow, the Coriolanus. These names are just terrible. Like not terrible in a bad way, but just like they're impossible. But Snow, the President Snow in the world that we know, around the times of the 74th, 75th Hunger Games, in the world that we know, Coriolanus Snow is the president. So we're going 65 years into the past and picking up on what was Snow like, when he was just, a young adult, 20, 21, 22, just starting to make his way. And that's interesting. What I don't necessarily, what my big question is, okay, this is really interesting. Do we need to make him mildly sympathetic? For me, the answer is no. This movie feels differently for some reason, and I'm not. It's a decision. They made a decision, not they. She made a decision to say, I'm gonna make him a little human, and I'm going to say, I don't know that I need that. Don't know that I need that. So that's story. Everything non-story I loved in this movie. Like everything. I absolutely ate it up. Rachel Zegler, who we saw in West Side Story and we're going to be seeing in a Snow White movie. I've heard some like, oh, she was miscast, or oh, she didn't work. Look, she does a terrible accent. I don't know that there was a need to do an accent. The accent was a choice, but other than the accent, I think she's absolutely fascinating, intriguing, and fantastic in this. We get the guy Tom Blythe, not somebody that most people would know. I didn't know him. Admirable job. He absolutely holds his own. He's good. But Viola Davis, holy shit. So this movie, in addition to people who are fans of the Hunger Game movies, this movie also must be seen by anybody who says, why haven't I seen Viola Davis play an absolutely demented sociopath? Like, why hasn't that happened? And let me tell you, you get your opportunity in this, and goddamn, does she just not like absolutely destroy every scene that she's in. Fan frigging tastic. Peter Dinklage also comes in and does a really tortured, genuinely tortured performance, and it's palpable, and it's something. It's really good. All the kids, it's really good. But really the most interesting part about this movie is the world building they do 10 years on from the end of the war. We are introduced to Coriolanus and his cousin Tigress, who you might remember from the original trilogy. She was still around in the original trilogy, and she's here now. And they are on bad times. We're introduced to them as little kids during the war, scrounging for food, literally. And then now 10 years on after the war, they're about to start the 10th Hunger Games. And Coriolanus is in school to sort of become like an administrator, or just an important government person. So it turns out in the capital at this time, there are three types of people. There's the sort of like old royalty. If you think of it from the standpoint of like the British royalty, where there are people that have had titles forever, but they're poor as hell because they just don't have anything. They're like they've never done anything, and so all their money is gone, and they just own land, and that's it. And if they sell their land, then they're fucked. But so they can't sell the land, but it's worthless as it is. And anyway, That's what the Snows are at this point. Then there's the old money who still have power and have money. And then there's the new money, which is people from the districts who made money during the war, profiteers basically, and have moved into the capital because that's the place to be. Um, and and so it's just like the capital's being built up and stuff, and so there's scaffolding everywhere and there's cranes everywhere. It's just it's like it doesn't have the luster and doesn't have the glitz and doesn't have the glamour that we see 65 years from now or 64 years from now. And the Hunger Games themselves is a totally different beast. And so it's really fascinating. I mean, these are basically enemy combatants is the way they are treated. They are just absolute, these kids are bust in, not bust in, brought in on trains that are they're in the cattle cars, man. It's like, shades of, the Holocaust and that sort of, it's just terrible. It's just like, oh my God. And then they're put up in display in emptied out zoo in a emptied out zoo enclosure. And and so it's really interesting. And so we get a lot of Easter eggs about how some of what we know about the Hunger Games now, and that's Act 1 and 2, and then Act 3 takes place. So what ends up happening is that these students are assigned as mentors for the we'll just call them contestants, for tributes. They are the and Coriolanus gets the District 12 tribute, Lucy Gray Baird, played by Rachel Ziegler, and yada yada yada. He falls in love. And then the third act takes place in District 12. I don't think it's a spoiler alert to let you know that, yeah, the main character survives. So so the third act is sparse and quick and really confusing. And I think it tries to set up for another movie, but there is no other movie coming out anytime soon. And there is no story for, like, so like the articles I read all said, hey, if she writes another book, we're ready to go. And she hasn't written another book. So do they go the Game of Thrones route and just be like, well, hey, look, you did the hard part, you set things up, we're gonna now destroy it. I mean, build our own stuff. I turn it into fan fiction. I don't know where they go. I'm definitely in, though. I did like the characters. I felt like if this movie stands alone, the ending's really bad. If this movie has a sequel that builds on what happened just now, I think that the ending could be redeemed. But it feels like a it feels like a prequel, and it also feels like the first in another trilogy. So I want that. I'm not gonna lie, I want it. And so let's go ahead and give it a rating. Here at Real to Real Talk, we do tacos instead of stars. So you get 1 to 5 tacos, and then if you like it a little extra, you want to give it a little extra, you give it guac. Why? Because nobody eats to have a fucking taco. You have to add something, right? So I'm torn on this one. Even right now, I don't know if I want to do 3 tacos or if I want to do 3 tacos plus guac. I'm gonna go. I'm feeling generous, right? I'm gonna go 3 tacos plus guac. Um, I gave 3 tacos plus guac to a couple movies last week, and I actually think those are a little better than this one. So it's not the best guac, but I really enjoyed what happened here. And I loved the world building, and that cannot be that can't be understated. The next movie I'm going to do that I'm a little less excited about is Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. And so Eli Roth, of many, many, many different uh horror, and leaning a little heavier into uh comedy horror. Or anyway, he made a phony trailer in 2007 for a movie that didn't exist called Thanksgiving, and people loved it, and so they decided they needed to make a whole movie on it. People are absolutely loving this movie. If you are predisposed for liking slasher films or predisposed for liking comedy horror films, um, I I feel like this movie is definitely for you. I know people I trust are loving this movie, and I am so happy for them. I I'm not the right audience, okay? I don't care for slasher movies. Horror comedy movies are so hit and miss for me just because in order to find it funny, you have to be just like, "Oh, that's funny. Somebody just died." And I'm not often, "Oh, that's funny. Somebody just died." Like, no matter how evil you are, like, you have to be like a fascist. Like, I will always laugh at fascists being killed, but that's about it. Like, um, I don't have a problem. Like, if you're just a shitty person who wanted to go shopping on Black Friday, uh, which is kind of the impetus for this movie, is that there's a tragedy at a Black Friday shopping stampede, and uh a year later the people who participated in the stampede are being picked off one by one, and so we got to figure out who's doing it. And it's, I mean, right off the bat, like the gross gore that's going on around the Thanksgiving stampede is just like, it's just it's too, my problem with the movie is that all of the humor is just way too fucking easy. All of it is way too easy. And I'm not down with that. Like, you gotta work for it. There's no effort because it's all super easy. It is really easy to dislike mass holes, you know? It's super easy to be happy when somebody who punches someone else for a waffle iron uh gets killed. And by the way, no. No, this idea that the joke that, oh, all of these people are fighting over waffle irons, it's like, it's too easy. It's not funny. That's just like, really, you're gonna go with a waffle iron? You're not gonna go with like something a little more interesting and something that makes sense? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's fine. Like, this movie's totally fine if you like this sort of thing. I don't, so I'm giving it 2 tacos. Look, I'm glad I saw it because it's Thanksgiving, and that's all I'll say about it. But hey, I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. I had fun. We're hoping to get Sergio back on next week for Napoleon. He has said he wants to do it, so that's something to look forward to. I'll also be covering Wish and hopefully Saltburn. But definitely Wish and Napoleon, and probably Saltburn. Uh, I'll see you next week. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody. Definitely go out to the movies this week. This is the best time to go see movies. There's so much really good stuff out there. Um, the Songbirds. Just go see a movie. Just do it. Do it. All right. Love you all. Bye.